Welcome to Salute to the Ears, where my family and I discuss everything Disney, from parks, food, and rides to travel tips, movies, and more. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Salute to the Ears. I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Erica.
And it has been a crazy Disney week.
Disnews always catches me off guard because you start saying Diz and I expect you to say Disney, not Disnews, but there has been a lot of news that's been happening out of both California and Florida.
Right. In particular, if you're planning on making a trip either like this summer or for 2024. That's really where there's been a lot of news.
There is, if you have been like, oh, I'm thinking maybe we should think about a trip. Our kids are this age. 2024 is your year.
Yeah. A lot of this stuff that we've been wanting to go away or wanting to come back is starting to come back.
Yeah.
Minus Magical Express. I think that one's done.
That's done, but there have been other things that have...
Right.
It's not that there's no transportation options, but hey, so here's the deal. We have a lot of information, a lot of different things that are happening, a lot of different things that we want to recap you guys on. We are also in the prep of getting ready for some upcoming trips for ourselves and our family. And so there's a lot happening. And so if you are a new listener, you've never listened to our podcast before, you have no idea what we're talking about as far as some of this Disney information and this news, I encourage you to go back and listen to some of our other episodes about, specific parts of Disney or lands, like different parks, different resorts, things that you're interested in. Send us a DM on Instagram or Twitter. If you have questions, we're happy to answer those at any time, but just know that this is going to be some rapid fire information. And if you are not a Disney person per se, or you're looking for planning info for those 2024 vacations, this is strictly going to be our hey, here's the update, here's the info.
Right.
And we're going to bring you more in-depth stuff about this as it gets closer. Right.
Because there's a lot that's come out. There's been a lot of stuff that's been coming out and changing since Iger's taken over.
Oh, yeah.
But it really feels like there's been a lot in the last month and a half.
Well, I think some of that just comes from, those first few weeks, first couple months are just trying to get, the biggest things reoriented. And now it's starting to be able to pull back and be okay.
Right.
Now what can we...
Right.
What can we look at? What can we focus on? What can we change? What can we announce that we're changing?
What can we erase from the Chapek era?
Well, and not just from the Chapek era, from the budget.
Yeah.
From taking away from other projects that need to be priority.
Yeah.
And what can we do to make the guest experience better?
Okay. So, making the guest experience better in 2024.
My favorite thing is coming back in 2024.
I was gonna save that for the last one. It came out in a group of 5.
Yeah.
They announced it in one day, a group of 5, and it starts off with
give us all 5, and then we'll go through them.
Okay, you got the date-based tickets will no longer need a reservation.
Right. So that's different. So
right.
it's date-based tickets,
right.
not just 5-day.
Right. Then you're going to have good to go days for annual pass holders and cast members where they're not going to need a reservation.
Right.
Okay. You're going to have announce the continued extended park hours for the deluxe hotels and the 30 minutes early for all the Disney hotels.
Right.
And then we got they said they're going to try and make Genie Plus easier. They said that they've listened to guests, and it sounds like what they're going to do is make it so that you can make Lightning Lane reservations or whatever prior to the park day. prior to your park visit.
Again, that's not happening right now. That
Right.
is not current.
Right.
That is something that is coming, and it's in development.
Right. And then the one you were kind of teasing a little bit is the dining plan is coming back. Yeah.
And it's not coming back in the full capacity that it was
Right.
pre-COVID, which I do understand. But I am so excited. Like, I'm happy about all of these, at least to some extent.
Uh-huh.
But this one makes me giddy because I love the all-inclusiveness of staying on
Right.
property and using the dining plan.
Right.
There is just something about feeling like you don't have to worry about,
Right. How much am I spending on food
do
right now?
do I get the cheeseburger or do I get the steak, because you've already paid for it. It's already done. It's already budgeted. It's already, whatever. And we have a whole episode about dining plan and what we want to see come back and what we loved, and lots of information there. But the gist is quick service.
Right.
And what was the regular dining plan before, so included a table service and a quick service meal, are coming back.
Right.
However, the deluxe one, as of right now, has not been announced to come back. Now, the deluxe one allowed you to use those meals however you wanted.
Right.
So the nice thing about that one was that you got this aspect of...
And the deluxe one, didn't it give you 3 meals?
Deluxe gave you 3, and I think, but the thing is that you could do 3 table service meals.
Right.
You could do 3 quick service meals in a day. You could do 3 table service meals in a day. It didn't matter how you used them on that one. Whereas with the regular dining plan, I think it ended up equating 2 quick service, 1 table per day. And so, or maybe just 1 and 1. But you could split them up how you wanted, breakfast and dinner, and buy lunch on your own or whatever, or buy breakfast on your own, and which is what we normally did. But that's the one that's coming back, or just quick service.
Mm-hmm.
But the deluxe, as of right now, is not coming back. I am interested to see if they end up bringing it back.
They could. And there was another one that they introduced just prior to COVID as well. It was like the Select or something like that. And how on deluxe you have 3 meals you can put together. That one had 2.
Yeah.
Neither one of those have come back. So you got the quick service, like you said, is 2 quick service meals a day and a snack or non-alcoholic beverage of your choice. That's not with your meals. And then you also got your Disney dining plan, which is, like you said, either it's a quick service and a table service meal and a snack.
So, I mean, here's the thing. For us personally, this was an amazing way for us to be able to budget out a trip easily without having to, we didn't have to worry about it because we would book them far enough in advance to be able to be like, okay, we can pay on this every month and we can just have it set aside. And I know there's lots of ways to do that. You can do that in a lot of different ways, but it just took so much pressure off my brain.
Right, it does.
Of having to think about it. And so it is I'm so glad they're bringing it back. And here's my thing. They have not changed out even signage that they've brought in, new signage. They've kept the dining plan symbols on them. And they've said from COVID that it was coming back at some point. I'm still not sure what the issue is with it coming back, if it has something to do with the app and mobile order and the way that is set up. And needing to work out kinks on the tech side of things of this versus the financial side of it. Because as well as I do, there's no doubt they make money on majority of the guests.
Oh, yeah.
Majority of the guests who use dining plan, they're making money off of that. You probably are spending more than what you would if you budgeted it out yourself. Yeah. However, for me, that little bit of extra was worth taking the stress off.
Right.
And the guy was paying for less stress.
And we've noticed that we were much more likely to go to a table service restaurant with the dining plan than without it.
Well, 100%. I mean, 1, just because of the cost. But 2, I felt like we were more adventurous eaters with the dining plan too.
Yeah.
Tried different things. We were willing to eat more things. I struggled a little bit this last trip with not necessarily eating often enough and getting really, really hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when we would do dining plan, I never really fully experienced that.
It almost got to the point you're like, oh, we're eating again.
Yeah. You do kind of get that way, especially with the deluxe. But so dining plan is the big thing coming back. One thing I want to detail, though, about some of the other things coming, like Genie Plus, we just don't have a ton of details on that yet.
There's not.
So Genie Plus is as is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do not expect any changes to that anytime soon. If it's an individual lightning lane right now, it's going to stay that way. If it's a virtual queue, expect it to stay that way for the foreseeable future. If it is, I hate the dynamic pricing of Genie Plus right now. That irritates the snot out of me because I feel like you can't plan for it. There's no way to be like I'd be okay if they set that in advance, but it's really not in advance. Like that pricing. Like I can't look 60 days out and say, hey, when we go on, July 15th, it's going to cost $25 a person.
Right.
That can end up being a big change in your budget.
It could.
And so that's the piece I don't love about dynamic pricing. That the dynamic pricing aspect is one thing I wish that they would update with it, as well as just the ability to book and cancel and change reservations more easily, which is what it sounds like is going to happen.
Yeah, I think you're going to be able to book lightning lanes and maybe the individual lightning lanes like more in advance. They said like Disney, it sounds like that's one of the big feedbacks is like with the old Fast Pass system, you knew what rides you're doing on what day, like 60 days out or whatever it was, if you were staying on property. Now it's a rush that morning.
There's definitely several of these that feel like they are the return of, hey, if you stay on property, there's a perk.
Right.
There is more potential for that because like dining plan's only available if you stay on property. Extra magic hours only available if you stay on property.
Right.
Your extended hours, like early entry, only available if you're staying on property. Or some of the Good Neighbor hotels have it, like Swan and Dolphin and things like that, but not all of them. And the thing that I'm most interested about, and I want to see how this plays out, is some of the changes in reservation system. So not only do you have this change coming with the like dated tickets. So normally when you book like a package, right? You book over 3-day tickets, 4-day tickets, 5-day tickets with Park Hopper, with Water Perks and more, whatever. So you're adding and you're just getting like this ticket package. And then you've got to make a reservation. So you're assigning that ticket to a park, to a person, to a day.
Right.
What they're saying is like, hey, if you're buying like a 1-day ticket, which is dated.
Right. Yep.
Then you're going to, for this particular date, you don't have to make a reservation and tell us which park you're going to.
Yeah, it could be like a 4-day, it can be like a 4-day ticket, but it's like, hey, this thing, it starts on Monday, it's ending on Thursday.
Yeah.
You don't need your reservation then.
It's definitely interesting to me. I want to see how this plays out because there's been such mixed feelings about the reservation system. Most people dislike it, but there's quite a few of us who understand it in the terms of the business side of it. Like a lot of us get it on the business side and we get the back end of it and why that could be so important and useful to them. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, I just want to get up and decide where I'm going.
Right. It maybe I want to change. Like I'm going to be going to Animal Kingdom. You know, I don't feel like going to Animal Kingdom now. I want to go to Epcot. So that's kind of hard to do right now.
Yeah. I'm still all for, the difference in like a 1-day, like one park ticket versus Park Hopper. Like there still needs to be a time on like when I'm okay with the time. Like I hate the time of park hopping because it means that you can't go lunch somewhere else.
Right.
And when a park opens at potentially 7:30 in the morning for you, or you know, that's hard.
It can be, yeah.
You know, so I'm very interested to see how that plays out. Again, none of these changes that we just mentioned are happening before January.
Yep. You got 2 of them that have dates for sure.
Yeah.
With the tickets that we just talked about, the dated tickets and Genie, not Genie Plus, but the dining plan. Both of those kick in January 9th. So you get past that holiday rush, and then they're going to kick in.
Yeah, because that definitely is when stuff drops for crowds.
Yeah, absolutely. It drops big time in between.
When school starts.
And was that like President's Day weekend or something like that in February? Yeah.
About that second week of February is when you
Right.
start seeing a big uptick again. Other news has come out
Right.
in the last... I just feel like every day there's been a text from you that's like, did you see?
Right. No, there is. I think before I get to the stuff that came out today, I want to go over if somebody's planning stuff still for this summer, there are some ticket prices that came out. Okay? And they have a 4-day non-park hopper ticket. Okay? So 4-day standard ticket, right? And this is from June 1st through September 29th, except a couple busy holiday weekends. Like,
Yeah, there are some blackout dates with it, but
July 1st through 4th and September 1st through 4th. But it's actually a pretty good deal.
it's honestly price-wise, it's comparable to the price of what we pay for our military tickets. Now, our military tickets include park hopper, but still.
Right. These tickets are $396 plus tax. That's considerably less than what you would normally pay.
For a 4-day, yeah.
Right. So that's a good way to save some money. We're starting to see more discounts and park stuff that's been popping up like this, which is kind of like what Iger did when we went through the recession in 2008 to try and keep the parks afloat. Or bring them back up afloat because they were struggling.
Well, none of us could afford to go.
Right.
I mean, you know, we were in a recession, and we're with the way inflation is and the way everything's headed.
Yeah.
Right now, politically and everything else, and around the world, globally, financially, it's hard.
It is.
And so there's a lot of people looking at this and going, we got to prioritize other things in our life, and we don't have the space for this now. And so when you add in options of like, hey, you could get, you know, cheaper tickets, or you could come and you can get, you know, a reduced room rate, or you can get, you know, I wouldn't doubt that sometime next year we will see free dining plan come back.
No, I think so too.
You know, because that's a lot of times that's the perk. So the room's not discounted, but hey, we threw in the dining plan, and that's about the equivalent of if we had just given you 30% off the room. So here you go. And I think we'll really start seeing a lot more of that, like, hey, we want you here.
Right.
Discounts versus the attitude that I think happened before Iger came back of, well, if you can afford it, you'll come.
Right.
And if you can't,
well, too bad.
As one of my favorite TikTokers, real celebrities, influencers says, you povos. Like, it's like, that's the attitude.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm rich, you're poor. Like, and I think that's finally shifting again.
I think so. I think you're right. I think that's why we're seeing some big discounts, and that's also kind of the reason why one of the things that came out today came out. And this one kind of makes me sad just a little bit, because I wanted to experience this, and it ain't gonna happen. And that's the closure of Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. Like, permanently closed.
Womp, womp, womp.
Right.
The Star Cruiser is closing in September.
Right.
Actually, September 28th. So the Galactic Star Cruiser is closing September 28th.
Mm-hmm.
They're moving. If you have a cruise booked after that, if you were planning to visit it after that, Disney is going to be in contact with you or may already have been in contact with you about changing those dates, trying to rebook you, trying to book you in another hotel for those dates if you can't change your dates, shifting things around.
Right.
I'm extremely sad about this. This is something that we really did want to have an opportunity to experience, but we were priced out of it.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Us and like 90% of other people.
I love the idea of this. I've always loved the idea of it.
Right.
I've never liked the price. I've always felt like it was so exclusive.
Yeah. And it was priced to the point to where there were very few people that were going to pay to go do that once, but that were going to pay to go do a repeat trip with that. It's not like paying a lot of money and going on a normal cruise where you could, yes, there might be some of the same shows and stuff going on, but there's still going to be different things that happen.
Yeah. You can have a different experience with it that second, if you take another Disney cruise or even if you stay at the same resort a couple of different times.
Right. With this, it was the same scenario. Like,
more or less. There were very few things that you could adapt and choose and change about it. I guess
you could be like first order or whatever. Like, you could kind of choose which side you were on. But it's not going to... It didn't translate well to getting repeat people in there.
It didn't translate to getting repeat people. So now you don't have people who want to come back. Like, whereas we are going back to a resort that we love when we go later this summer back to Florida. We're going back to a resort we love. We have resorts we've stayed at multiple times because we really love them. So you missed out on those people, right? And then on top of that, you have people who they saved and saved and saved for a Disney vacation, and you could stay in a deluxe resort for multiple days,
right,
for the cost of the 2-night experience on the Galactic Star Cruiser.
Yeah, it was just too pricey. I'm sad to see it go because everybody who's been on it, like, it has really high reviews. Everyone
it's a lot of fun.
Everyone loves the theming, the interaction, like cast members, phenomenal job with it. But it's one of those things that's I guess I don't know how they saw a long-term plan for this, especially at that price point.
Well, here's the thing though too. The creation of this and this project having the green light happened pre-COVID. And where we were headed as a country pre-COVID, financially and when you look at the trends and the way people were spending and the way things were pre-COVID,
right,
you may have had a whole different section of people that were able to do this in a different way. But then you had, the price of goods went up. So Disney's costs went up to even produce it. Initially you had limited people in there, like it really changed. I mean, the timeline of it changed, their cost factor changed, all of that.
It did.
But the thing that I think kills me about it is that I'm like, there is so much craftsmanship in this, in this building.
There is.
So much craftsmanship and work that's been put onto the Galactic Star Cruiser. I do not want to see it be something that just rots.
I know. I don't know what they're going to do with it. Because those rooms are small because it's supposed to almost be like a cruise ship.
Right.
Right? So turning it into a regular hotel seems like it would be kind of underselling it. Because you're still going to have to, you're going to charge deluxe prices for these little bitty rooms because they're themed like Star Wars.
And I do think you will get more people who, if it's not just the 2-night thing, if you can stay for 1 night instead of having to stay for the 2-night immersive experience. I think if you do that, you will get people who are willing to come and experience it. I'm very curious to see what happens with that.
Right.
As far as like, do they just turn it into basically a moderate?
There'll be so much wasted space in there, though. Like the places where you do like lightsaber training and what were bays.
Well, you just make those paid experiences.
Yeah, maybe.
You just do some stuff that becomes, one-off. Like, hey, you can sign up to do this thing, versus like,
yeah, maybe.
Like, oh, you are doing this thing if you're staying here. I just don't want it to see it be something that rots, and I don't want to see it be something that just gets demolished either.
I don't either. I think maybe if there was a way to maybe build another like hotel next to it somehow and like connect them, because they're not.
Think there's space there.
I don't know because they're not far from Galaxy's Edge. I mean, they would take the van right there. Is that your hotel that's connected to Hollywood Studios?
Maybe.
I mean, it can't be very tall because then it's going to ruin the sight lines, and
yeah,
we know what happens if you ruin sight lines.
It would be very interesting with that. I just don't want to see it go.
Yeah.
One thing that's hard for me too is because they are trying to rebook everybody. So if you had a plan and booked out for that farther than the end of September, they're trying to either move you up before the end of it or rebook you somewhere else and do a different trip. Great. Well, so they've halted new reservations.
They did.
So now people like us who are like, okay, how can we make this work?
Right.
How can we get there? How can we experience this before it goes away? We have to now wait and see if there's even going to be availability.
Right.
I'm curious to see if this sticks or not.
Right. The halting is supposed to free up on May 26th.
Right.
That's when it's supposed to open back up. So you don't want to have to wait that long. But I mean, you're still going to have to fork over all that money. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Speaking of a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
The other news that came out today.
Yeah.
Is a $5.5 billion change to Disney's budget. 5.5 billion with a B change to their budget. And one I am also actually kind of a little disappointed about.
You talking about Lake Nona?
I am talking about Lake Nona.
Yeah. So Lake Nona was supposed to be a Disney development and kind of a headquarters for the Imagineers. They were going to move the Imagineers from California to Florida. There was going to be housing, like different levels of housing, like different price ranges, grocery stores, offices, transportation, all this stuff. Like
it's going to be their own little Epcot.
Right. It was a whole lot of people that were going to be moving to Florida. And a whole lot of money that was going to be coming to Florida. And Disney today said, nah, we good. And they're going to stay in California. And with that...
we're not going to get political, but yeah.
Yeah. It was... there had been rumors that this had been kind of in the works for a while. But I think they're finally to the point where it's like...
when you look at it as a budget line item, you have to look at that and go, we have a bunch of unhappy people who don't want to make this change. And then on top of that, this is getting extremely expensive. What do we do?
Right. There were a lot of Imagineers that had already quit. Like, people who have been Imagineers for years and that were expected to be like the next wave, like big name Imagineers that quit because they did not want to leave California.
Yeah.
And they're off doing other things now. Come back? Is that what they're going to say?
I guess I wish that they would have just said, hey, it's going to be a smaller scale. We're going to have two Imagineering buildings. We're going to have this one that has to do more with motion picture stuff, and we're going to have this one that has to do with more park development. Why not just have two?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to make it all be headquartered someplace. So make it on a smaller scale, do something else.
Yep.
I think we will see something happen down the line.
Maybe.
But I don't think it will ever be to the scale of what they were planning this time.
No. I can tell you the mayor down there is not happy.
Well, you have a lot of development and other businesses that had already purchased property.
Yeah.
Were starting development, that were doing stuff that are now like they've made investments
Right.
because this was coming, and they were sold by Disney investors saying, "Hey, we're going to do this thing. Are you in?"
Yep.
Now you have all these other companies that are like, "We're out."
Right. So it'll be interesting to see what happens because, like the mayor said, this is what happens when businesses don't feel like they're welcome in the state. Take that how you will. I feel like that's directed directly at somebody. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's all we're going to say
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. Josh Tomorrow did say still planning on spending billions of dollars creating lots of jobs, which was then followed by as long as the state of Florida wants us to. Once again, kind of pointed, no names thrown, but we can all read between the lines pretty well.
But names thrown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ugly. It feels like there's something every day or at least multiple times a week, but it's ugly.
It is so ugly. And I think the hardest thing is that I just keep going back to, I'm like, why would you want to piss off a global business like this? Why would you want to tick off like
not only a huge business, but the single largest business in your state, single largest employer in your state, single largest taxpayer in your state.
Like why would you be like, let me piss you off? It makes no sense. Okay. So those are the two big things that happened today.
Uh-huh.
Is the announcement of the stopping of Lake Nona development, and then Galactic Star Cruiser ending.
Yeah.
I feel like we're gonna end up also getting some more California news soon.
There was a bunch of stuff. You got was it like Forward Disney, or a bunch of stuff came out with that yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I need to like dive into it and really break it down.
Yeah.
We're not as versed on Disneyland as we are in Disney World, so
we need to get a little more versed because
it's coming quick.
It's coming quick. We have a vacation planned. So be on the lookout for things that we are sharing about that trip. Our plan is actually not to share until after we get back.
Right. I might do like some pictures on Twitter or something.
We might have some one-off things,
right.
But for the most part, in the past we've tried to share our trips and our travels and our information like as soon as it's available, like
right.
As soon as we're doing it, experiencing it. And honestly, it's so exhausting.
It is. And that's with us being in a park that we're
super
familiar with. Yeah. So
and on top of that, we are going to be a party of 16 while we are at Disneyland. We will not all be together all the time, but overall we are a party of 16 between essentially 4 families.
Right.
Three families,
yeah.
And 3 families and Dad.
Yeah.
And so, it's like, that's crazy.
Right. No, and there will be a lot of kind of breaking up of like going and doing our own things. So it won't just necessarily be one big group the whole time.
We have kids ranging in age from 3 to 18.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's going to be absolutely insane. So look for lots of stuff coming from that soon. And we'll have more of our breakdowns coming up of Disneyland news, Disneyland info, what our experiences were, what we liked, what we didn't like, and trying to help you plan, if you're looking to be out on the West Coast.
Right. And, I would love to hear what people who go to Disneyland a lot, if we have any people who are like, yeah, Disneyland's like my place, what their go-tos are, what their must-dos are. Whether it's like a must-do snack or, hey, you have to sit in this spot for this parade, or like the things that people are like, when I go to Disneyland, this is what I have to do every time or what I have to eat. So that's what I would like to hear.
I would love to hear that because I am feeling a little lost. It is definitely overwhelming, even though they're smaller parks.
Uh-huh.
It feels very overwhelming because they're just laid out so different.
They are.
And the experiences are different.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of overlapping things and rides that are, experienced in both places, but
no. I'm looking for, because I open up the app because that's what I do. And trying to learn my way around. But looking at those, like, the wait times on the rides, I'm like, I could get used to that. Like, it's like, there's a long one. That's 30 minutes,
It makes you understand why you have people who are like, I go all the time.
Right.
Whereas some of those, I don't feel like you get quite as many of those, even with annual pass holders in Florida. They'll go and do one thing.
Yeah.
They'll
it's kind of like,
they'll go and like,
I'm going to do a ride or two.
Yeah.
Go grab something to eat and I'm out.
Right.
Yeah.
But like people who go to Disneyland who are like, no, I go to Disneyland.
Right.
I go and I do all the things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That would be all right.
I think I could get used to that. We're so glad that you guys follow along. We're so glad that you guys jump in and interact with us. Find us this week on Twitter, Instagram, at Salute to the Ears.
Yep. And with that, we're going to say go out and find your joy.
And have a magical week.